Craig Drew on Twitter says, wish there was more conversation at the table. This is why having players like Kid Poker makes it that more fun. Playing for serious stakes in this super high roller. Even if Daniel was at the table, I'm not sure how much chatter there'd be.
And it's not only that. Talking very often gives away information. Let's say you're talking during a hand and all of a sudden you become quiet. That everything means something. And these guys, they just don't want to give away anything because it's only sharks at the table and they pick up on everything.
So here we go, first hand of 40-80.
If you look closely at all those photos that fly in and make the EPT10 logo, I snuck in one of me in a bathtub.
Action as follows with David. He's going to race to 160,000 total.
We see now that both David and Steve O'Dwyer are back to 20 big blinds. David Benefield still not showing his cards to the camera.
Action was followed all the way around, and David will win this pot.
Looks like he's trying. I think he's just not successful at it. Good practice for November.
Here's a backhanded compliment for you, Christoph. Dorothy Meyer tweets to say, really enjoying Matty DeMulder's commentary and insights. Great to know your brother's taking credit for all your hard work.
That's the way things go. I'm fine with that.
Alas, Christoph's time with us has come to an end, so we'd like to thank Christoph DeMulder from Team PokerStars Pro for dropping by EPT Live and sharing those insights. Awesome work, sir.
It's always my pleasure.
Thanks, Christoph.
Enjoy
Get back
your
out
day,
to the
guys.
beach, buddy. Sorry about that.
Very shortly, Steve Silverman will be joining us here on EPT Live. Steve was here last night. Of course, he played in this event. Played a very memorable hand against Daniel Negreanu, which kind of sealed his fate in this tournament. And I'm sure that Steve will be giving us his insight on these players and this final table. But if you've got specific questions for Zugwat, you know what to do. Tag your tweets EPT Live, email nuts@pokerstars.tv.
Was I here for that hand?
Yes.
Oh, the misclick, right. Timex raising from the button.
Action was followed around to Mike on the button. He's raised to 160,000 total. Very cold, small blind.
Pedro says, guys, watching from Portugal, how about the EPT Live free roll password? 4,200 players have registered already.
Yeah, they guessed it.
We are going to need to change our strategy with the free roll passwords, people. It's too obvious.
How much are you playing?
1.9. So McDonald raises from the button. Shemian calls from the big blind. King 10 against 7-9.
Defending pretty light.
And McDonald flops top pair.
And Mike McDonald's been hitting flops a lot. It's not as easy to make top pair as Mike McDonald's making it seem right now.
Mike is going to pay out 175,000 total.
What's an Austrian to do?
He's got a couple of backdoor draws. Nine high might be good.
It looks like he is going to go a little crazy here. This would be ill-timed at best.
Shemian check raises to 400,000.
You know, you had to wonder when he was defending his big blind so light if he didn't sort of have this in mind anyway. Hey, maybe I'll hit the flop, and if not, I'll just act like I did. I don't think Mike can fold. This less a stare and more just seems like he's actually searching for something. Well, that's a 3-bet.
McDonald responds by clicking it back. A min re-raise to 625,000.
See ya, Allah.
Well, he folds, and Mike will win this pot.
And McDonald consolidates his chip lead. A stack of nearly 5 million. And this is turning into a bit of a King Dan situation. Last year's super high roller, Dan Smith, built up a big stack and then ran over the table. And Mike McDonald finds himself in that position now. The second biggest stack at the table is Lunkin with 2.14 million, who hasn't really been doing very much. Mike very much in control right now.
He is running away with it so far.
Oh yeah, free roll password. So many of you have cracked it already because you're aware that there is a theme, which we may need to change. 8:15 Central European Time, the free roll begins. That's 3:15 Eastern. And the password is Fabregas. Isn't that the guy who made the eggs?
Absolutely delicious, those eggs, by the way.
Yes, our list of Barcelona football players continues, at least for today. Fabregas, the password, F-A-B-R-E-G-A-S. All lowercase is the password that will get you into that free roll.
Who picks the passwords? I want to get in on this. I want to be consulted on the passwords henceforward.
Lunkin with sixes. Under the gun raised to 160,000.
Raised to 160,000 total.
Was folded by David Benefield in the big blind. Queen 9 off suit. And he will call.
Benefield pairs his 9, jumps out in front. Benefield with 20 big blinds left in his stack.
Lunkin continues.
So I was going to leave that for 200,000 total.
I think against a guy like Lunkin, you maybe call one time, but if he keeps barreling, you probably can't stick around.
David makes the call, and you will see the turn.
Ace of spades on the turn.
And as the ace of spades,
Benefield checks.
David checks.
Can Lunkin find a barrel here? If he does, I think he wins this pot. Players have played pretty straightforward against him because of his image, and this is a spot where it could really help him.
So he's going to bet out 400,000 total.
Barrels, 400k. Benefield still with the best hand. He's actually a 95% favourite. But as you said, Joe, Lunkin has this image. Players tend to show more respect than anyone else at the table.
If it doesn't work in this spot, what good is it?
And Benefield does fold the best hand.
David folds, and the guy will win this pot.
Lunkin still second on the leaderboard with nearly 2.6 million. But Mike McDonald way out in front with nearly 5 million chips at the moment, 4.88 million to be precise.
If you're Vitaly Lunkin, that's just a giant exhale right there. Just
Eric Seidel is the short stack with 12 big blinds. Ola Shemian came into this final table as the chip leader. He's the second shortest with 17 bigs. Both Steve O'Dwyer and David Benefield are dropping into the danger zone as well.
Neil writes in to say, attention, Shemian, please report to the Lost and Found. We found your mint green sleeves. He was looking all over for them. I thought maybe he just took the hoodie off to go into the ocean and someone stole his sleeves only.
Craig Barker on Twitter says, McDonald is bossing it like a boss. And Bart says, Joe, Fabergé eggs are not delicious, which implies he tried to eat one.
Yeah, how do you know, pal?
That's an expensive inedible snack. O'Dwyer raising under the gun with aces.
Steve is going to race to 175,000 total.
Second time he's picked up aces at this final table.
Shemian with fours on the button. He's got a reshoving stack.
All in.
He does move all in.
Oh, he has announced all in. He just popped a couple stacks.
The blinds both fold.
Oh,
O'Dwyer calls
Steve has.
and tells Shemian the bad news.
We go to a showdown.
Good luck.
Really tough to get away from pairs, even though, you know, Steve looked pretty strong and been relatively quiet, wasn't raising many hands at all.
An hour and 15 minutes ago, Shemian was the chip leader, and now he's about to bust in sixth.
I think so. I'm all in. Not him.
All your all-in players.
Confirmation that O'Dwyer has Shemian covered by around 250,000 chips.
Yeah, I got him by.
Shemian at risk and way behind.
We go to the flop. Flop is
No
two
fours
diamonds,
there.
king of clubs, eight of hearts.
No backdoor draws.
Fans of mint green sleeveless hoodies are going to be very disappointed if a four doesn't hit on the turn or river.
With the eight of spades.
One card to come, one last chance to hit one of your two outs, Ola.
And the river.
The river card is a 6. So Ola Shemian busts in 6th. That's worth the better part of 160,000 euros.
Good game. Sick luck yesterday.
And we go five-handed
Once you had ace-6,
in this 50k Super High Roller
I don't think
final.
he did. And even then, it would have been a bluff.
Steve O'Dwyer almost doubles up. Now he's got over 3 million in chips. Now second in chips. It's just wild the way that the stacks have been changing.
Good game, good luck.
Well, as we keep saying, it's such a shallow final table that any major confrontation is going to see a significant change on the leaderboard. Yeah, we got a professional who can do that for you, Ola, but I guess you want to get out of town.
I feel like that's probably one of the more gratifying things about busting out is just tearing that frickin' microphone off.
So McDonald leads with 61 bigs. No one else has more than 40 big blinds. Steve O'Dwyer officially second. Lunkin not that far behind. Benefield and Seidel, the two shorties at the moment.
Adios, Ala.
He can take that 160,000 euros back to, where was it again? Oh yeah, Austria, that's right.
To random tax haven.
Good luck seeing my cards now, buddy.
Adam tweets in to say, am I right in thinking that from 9-handed to 6-handed, Mike's stack has gone from 80K to 5 million plus? Very impressive. I don't think he was as low as 80K.
No. Maybe 800k to 5 million plus.
but he is very close to 5 million right now.
He makes the call.
The sentiment is correct, though.
Steve.
Huge swings.
How much is that in your hand, David?
I started with like 1.3,
How much?
like 1.3, 1.4.
Benefield's button raise, called by Lunkin in the small blind. Action on O'Dwyer in the big blind.
Is Stevie going to get squeezy? No, he checks. Benefield limped the button, huh?
Oh, he's a button limp. I didn't notice that.
Flop is 7 of hearts, 9 of hearts, 10 of clubs.
He's taken a play from the O'Dwyer playbook.
That's right, Steve does do that occasionally.
O'Dwyer has flopped second pair.
That's at 130,000.
Action checked to Benefield.
See, now I really want to know his hole cards are. I want to know what Benefield's limping the button with.
130,000. Lunkin's folded. Action on O'Dwyer.
I think it's real easy for him to have a piece of this board.
Charlie folded and Steve calls.
Just how big a piece.
10. 10 is a 6 of diamonds. Just over Stevie's
Well, open-ended
check.
just got there.
Dwyer checks a second time.
I think if Benefield bets again, Steve's in a really tough spot.
Benefield does bet again. 275,000.
I think there's plenty of hands in Benefield's range that have O'Dwyer drawing dead already. Plenty of hands that have him in really bad shape. Steve's really not beating much.
Oh, Adam has clarified on Twitter that Mike was indeed down to 4 big blinds, but that was at a much earlier blind level. It was certainly before the final table began.
Steve folds and David will win this pot.
King 10. Steve was not drawing dead, but not in good shape.
Jake asks, are all the final 5 on just one bullet? Let's get that confirmed, actually. There was a bit of confusion, I'll be honest with you, about who had actually reloaded and how many times. So we will seek clarification on how many buy-ins each of these players got through on their journey to the final table, the 50k Super High Roller being an unlimited re-entry event. Throughout day 1 and right up to the start of play on day 2, should you bust, you can come back in as many times as you want. And Emmanuel is taking issue with the graphic that we have in the top right-hand corner of the screen. He says, a 40-minute delay shouldn't be classed as live.
Well, live just fits in the corner so much more easily than 40-minute delay does. Plus, we're live. What about that? Emmanuel.
I think you'll find that everyone who's reporting on this, all the guys doing the live updates, in fact, Chad Holloway just tweeted a few minutes ago, all those guys are actually blogging and reporting from the delay, from the stream.
And we thank them for that, for allowing us to keep the integrity of the stream. Appreciate that, guys.
Lunkin's button raise is to 200,000. O'Dwyer with pocket threes in the small blind.
Steve gives up a small blind.
O'Dwyer opts to not don the miner's hat.
Mike folds that jack deuce in the big blind.
Vitali will win this pot.
Richard Young, uber billionaire, who played in this event, now railing the action.
Love that guy. I wish he were my real dad. I think he made his billions selling Mogwai.
Back to the action. Hand 35 of the final table. Under the gun raise from David Benefield.
David's raised 160,000 total. Before we run to the small blind with Mike.
9-10 off for McDonald in the small.
Blind fold, and David will win
And
this.
Seidel folds the Jack 3. Another raise and take it hand. 35 minutes left on the level. 35 minutes until the first break of the day. Action did start 60 minutes later than planned. But that's what happens when they play until 1:25 in the morning. Well, the man who knows that all too well is a man who was one of our guest commentators yesterday. You saw him on the feature table earlier than that. Steve Silverman made his EPT Live debut in London last season. And he was on the stream yesterday with Mark and Matt. So much praise on Twitter for his analysis and for his comments. I'm thrilled to say that on final table day, he is back with us in the booth. Steve Silverman, great to have you with us once again on EPT Live.
Thanks, it's good to be here.
Questions for Steve? You know what to do. Tag your tweets, EPT Live. nuts@pokerstars.tv, the email address. So obviously you were watching a lot of the action yesterday, Steve. They didn't get to the bubble. They just got down to 8. The bubble has finally burst. Timothy Adams has gone, and now it's become the Mike McDonald show.
Yeah, I think they ran pretty, the short stacks were running really well in all-ins and no one was busting. Now the stacks are a little bit shorter as a result. Mike's been able to run it up, so that'll be interesting to see.
Steve, do you think that when stacks are like this and, there's ICM considerations that right and wrong answers, right and wrong moves are a little more clearly defined at this stage than, say, when, you're deeper or when you're not already in the money?
It's tough to say. It's hard to figure out exactly how much the ICM stuff changes. Shove ranges and stuff like that. No one really knows the true answer. I mean, you can play around with software and stuff to try to figure it out, but it's tough to say. A lot of some things are very, very surprising of hands you would normally play when ICM is in consideration, and it can be very different in something like this, especially on the bubble.
I'm gonna demand it.
But do you find that it's a little bit more mechanical at this stage? Even taking ICM out of it, but just, given stack sizes?
There definitely is maybe less room for, I guess, creativity,
yeah,
so to say. Just because you're really disincentivized to, spew off your chips.
And how about sitting here watching this? Is it tough knowing that you were in there at one point?
Yeah, I mean, it would have been tougher if I, busted later on in the tournament. I busted really early on day one, and I was kind of out of it after, after I lost that, or towards the end of the day yesterday. I kind of whittled down. But it is tough. You always want to be there, but I can't really complain too much.
And who is your biased pick to win this? Who's your boy in this?
Well, I'm good friends with Mike and Steve, so I'm definitely rooting for both of them.
Two dogs in this fight.
And they're the two big stacks at the moment. We've said that McDonald's the chip leader. O'Dwyer's second on the leaderboard at the moment with 2.7 million. Lunkin just behind him with 2.6 million. And Seidel doing what Seidel does best. Whittling down slowly.
I'd use the other word that you're known as, but this is a family show. PG rating.
It's all about making a good TV program.
Steve Benjamin writes in to ask, what is your PokerStars screen name? Are you comfortable putting that out there?
Yeah, I mean, my star's name is Zugwat, same as it was on Full Tilt.
There you go, Benjamin. Zugwat, go get him. Steve O'Dwyer winning that last pot. Steve in the small blind in this hand, Mike in the big. Don't forget, guys, any one of you can write in with a question for Steve Silverman. Hashtag him, EPT Live. If you want to make it a little more involved, you can email us, nuts@pokerstars.tv. Eric Seidel, first to act this hand. Seidel folds. Benefield raising. Sorry, guys, I can't do Stapes Cam and the play-by-play at the same time. Just gonna have to wait. Ace-9 for Lunkin.
Ace-9 would be kind of a loose to flat call here. He could 3-bet it. Benefield raised on just under 30 bigs.
Folding probably okay also.
Folding's fine, yeah. I mean, it's a hand that doesn't really flop that well, but you could 3-bet bluff with it.
Do you have any other chips behind?
Dwyer, suited connectors.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Steve even flat call the small blind here. Getting a pretty good price.
And this is a hand that flops all right.
Flops pretty well.
So we're going to sweat with Steve O'Dwyer.
So he's going to be perceived to be flatting, basically all the Broadway high cards, so that flop pretty much smashes him.
And he did catch a significant piece. Second pair. And as Steve predicted, Benefield well aware that this flop does smash Steve's range. 7 on the turn.
Interesting that he checked. I think maybe I would have bet there just because you have so many pairs and straight draws and you don't really want to give another free card. I think Benefield bets most of his queens on the flop. He might check back if he had something like Queen 9, Queen 8.
Well, Steve thinks it's safe to bet now. Gets looked up. Looks like the 10's good.
He might have had pocket 9. We rivered the 8 with like ace 8.
I think we will see Benefield's cards eventually.
That's them.
7.
Turn the 7. Do we think Steve's gonna be betting a hand worse than 7 there very often?
Not for value. I mean, it's kind of a loose call. It's pretty hard for Steve to be bluffing. A lot of his straight draws check the turn. I'm sorry, a lot of his straight draws would bet the turn, like King Jack. I guess he was hoping he had like a suited ace or maybe Ace Jack, and then was trying to bet Ace Jack on the river to fold Benefield off like a small pocket pair or a hand like he had.
I mean, it's weird, right? Like if we were thinking that he's checking the flop because he knows that the flop hits a lot of Steve's range, and then he goes ahead and calls the river. That is pretty loose.
Yeah, I mean, I think Steve's check confused Steve's check on the turn confused Benefield. Just because typically, like, you would expect Steve to bet there with most of his range.
So then well played, Steve O'Dwyer.
Yeah, if he bets the turn, I mean, Benefield might just fold the pair right on the turn. The downside was, you know, Benefield got a free shot at hitting a 6 or a 7.
Benefield pocket queens, and he managed to find the hole card camera.
Raised to 160,000 total.
Can he find a customer? Yep. Is this a flatting spot or a 3-betting spot?
I would expect either folding
Wow.
or maybe 3-bet folding. Benefield's raising off under 20 bigs, so it's kind of tough to continue from the small blind. You know, you could make like a, I guess with Seidel short, he could have just shoved.
I guess we have the benefit of knowing that Benefield's.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of players might have shoved there. Especially Benefield's been opening kind of loose. I think we saw him open ace-7 off earlier.
Yeah, that's right, but we have the benefit of knowing that. And, oh, I guess everyone does at this point, though, right? Because everyone's getting the information 45 minutes later.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that hand was 45 minutes before this one. But I think Mike got a little lucky there.
Because Benefield's, I would think, has been raising a little bit wider than I would expect. Not crazy, but...
Yeah, I think Mike was definitely tempted to just shove, and he can with Seidel short in the big. But it seems fine to fold. He wouldn't fold king-queen suited.
Just to be clear, we are actually on a 60-minute delay for this live stream today, 1 hour. 45 minutes is the minimum delay that we would use on one of our streams, but today it's a full hour as Eric Seidel shoves small to big.
David has asked for a count.
Just want to make sure. Yeah, I call.
685. Eric's going for 685. David calls, and we go down to a shot.
Benefield calls.
Eric shows the 5 of hearts, 6 of clubs.
5-6 the hand for
Shows
Seidel.
ace of spades and the 4 of diamonds.
Ace-4, the hand for Benefield.
It's a little loose by Seidel for 9 blinds, but probably okay.
He's live. 6 in the door and a 5 there, too.
Wow.
The 5 of clubs.
Top pair for Benefield. 2 pair for Seidel.
Eric all-in players hit 2 pair.
Usually the ace is good. Though.
That wasn't too loose at all. That was perfect.
Counts from the pair of aces.
And diamonds. Not forget diamonds.
Everything. Running everything.
Benefield
They
still
got 3
feeling
diamonds on the turn.
confident.
It's pretty much impossible to not have an interesting turn card.
Card is the
That's
6
gonna
of hearts.
be a little tougher to fade.
You were saying?
No, you didn't. Impossible.
Benefield can still hit an ace and win this hand.
On the river is the 8 of clubs.
Well, it's Eric Seidel who's going to double up. And Steve, this is kind of exactly what was happening yesterday. The short stacks just were doubling up all the time.
Yeah,
685.
it's definitely frustrating when you're at the table and that keeps happening because you're sweating the Ellens, you know, pretty hard. You're making money each time someone busts, and yeah, you know, every time a short stack doubles, you're like, well, am I going to be the next guy out? And it's not a good feeling.
And that really cripples David Benefield. He's now playing a sub 10 big blind stack. Seidel still has fewer than 20 bigs. Donald still way out in front. I got some questions coming through for Steve Silverman on Twitter. David says, Zugwat, how did it feel to get hit by a tomato on 2 months, 2 million?
That hurt a lot. I did not realize a tomato could pack that much power, but it knocked me to the ground, and like my nose was bleeding. And
Oh my goodness.
yeah, I mean, but it made for such an epic like slow motion shot that it's like my 15 minutes of fame or 15 seconds.
I mean, you could have put it in really, really slow motion and made it 15 minutes.
True. It was pretty epic. I was happy to sacrifice myself for that.
McDonald suited ace-6. Chips he's handling there. The red ones are 25,000 each.
Actually, that's been fall to Mike. He's going to raise to 160,000 total.
160,000 and all in from the short stack.
He's probably going to end up having to call this. It's unfortunate.
Oh!
Nope.
raise and a 10 big blind shove, with the chip leader still to act behind you.
Steve, talk to me about this ace-10 here, because
Mike raised the hijack.
That's unfortunate.
It's a little bit loose, but he probably has to go with it.
Well, Benefield actually had the same hand as McDonald, ace-6. Lunkin reshoved with the ace-10. McDonald folded, so David Benefield now finds himself in really bad shape with his tournament life on the line.
I mean, at first with ace-10, you're like, oh, there's a raise and then a shove, and you may not think ace-10 is good, but then when you look at where it came from, you know, Mike McDonald could be raising, you know, worse than ace-10. Benefield, 10 big blinds.
Yeah, they had him at under the gun 1, but I think that's actually just the cutoff. So I think at that point, ace-10 is just, you know, well ahead.
And it is well ahead.
Still ahead after the flop.
King of Hearts, 3 of spades, Jack of spades.
Benefield drawing pretty thin.
Less than ideal.
Turn card is the Jack of diamonds.
Well, that's pretty good for him.
23% chance of a split. Benefield looking for a 6 on the river to win outright.
11 to live. Okay.
And the river is the 9 of diamonds.
Ace-10 holds, and David Benefield exits in 5th place.
Good luck, guys.
Don't cry for him, Argentina, though, because he's got another final table coming up in a couple of months.
Yeah, I think he's the short stack, but he has, you know, he has literally the best 15 blinds you can ever have in poker.
I like that.
208,100 euros for that 5th place finish. David Benefield will be competing in Las Vegas in November for the World Series of Poker main event title. And one of the 4 players remaining at this final table will be a super high roller champion. Lunkin, now second on the leaderboard. 3.5 million. O'Dwyer close behind him with around 3.3 million. McDonald still the leader with 4.5. And Seidel, once again, the shortest stack at the table. Confirmation of where things stand. Craig Barker tweets to say, McDonald's instincts seem really tuned. How much is ABC poker and how much is instinct at this stage? Can you balance that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, we've all been playing this game for so long and we've done it so much, it's basically just, you know, become, like, natural to us. So at this stage of the game, you know, it's different. The stakes are so high and the pressure's on, but, you know, it's still the same game, and you kind of get your cards and you just do what you make the best decisions, you know, based on your cards and the situation. So it's ultimately just the same game. You know, even when the stakes are huge, you just, how many big blinds, what's the pot size.
When you get to be as good at poker as you guys
I
are,
can't see how many stacks of red you have. How much do you
does
5
instinct
stacks
and
of red,
ABC
3
sort of
for you?
become the same thing?
5.
It does blend together a little bit. A lot of times you won't, you know, it's just like something will feel right or wrong, and then in the moment you'll act on that, and then afterwards you'll like feel like, oh well, you know, it was this reason, this reason, this reason, and this reason, but you know, you really just like felt that something was right or wrong.
So Lunkin has raised small to big. O'Dwyer defends with 5-3.
Both catch a piece of this board.
It's interesting that Lunkin he limped 5-6 earlier, and he's been playing real tight, and then he just decides to raise queen deuce off from the small. It's kind of inconsistent. It is a hand that's going to be kind of easy to play, though, after the flop. Like, it's going to, you know, flop a pair of queens or miss for the most part. Maybe he was just trying to steal the blind.
Steve calls the C-bet of 200,000. The card is the 8 of diamonds.
Tully can't find the double barrel this time.
He has slowed down. He has checked to O'Dwyer.
Steve takes the free card.
And it's a 3. O'Dwyer's two pair no good. Lunkin rivers the wheel.
Very unfortunate. It's, almost certainly going to go bet call.
Right, but Steve's not going to go crazy here.
No, I guess he's just hoping, hopefully makes it not too expensive for him.
400.
He'll call that.
Half top.
Bets are 425,000 total. Steve makes the call.
Oof.
Still a decent sized dent in O'Dwyer's stack. He lost the better part of $1 million in that hand. O'Dwyer now with 2.4 million. And Lunkin closing in on the chip lead. McDonald got 4.5 million. Lunkin's got 4.4 million. And Eric Seidel still brings up the rear with 1.4 million. Martin Petrov on Twitter, Steve, was a bit surprised to see you playing in the super high roll. He says, you still play poker? I read that you'd quit to go back to college.
Yeah, I did kind of retire for a little bit. I guess at the time I didn't really think that I was going to quit poker. I was just going to do both, but it just ended up being too difficult. But yeah, I finished college and wanted to play poker again.
If you lose, I fold.
Now, a few people have observed that Eric Seidel has a peculiar betting habit, Steve. I don't know whether you picked up on it when you've been at the tables with him. Kieran says he did it again. Seidel puts his chips across the line and then says, all in. Tut, tut, tut. And we were meant to be on this like a hawk show, but I
forgot.
Got to be honest, I missed it. There have been some allegations or some observations by eagle-eyed viewers that Mr. Seidel is fond of the string bet.
I have seen him bet like that, but I think what it is if you...
He's still got his hands on the chips, right?
Yeah, if you grab the chips and do it in one motion, like without pulling your hand back, then it's fine. As soon as you start to pull your hand back and then go back forward again, that's when it becomes a string bet. But you can just kind of float there and do a little pause in between, and it looks kind of cool, I guess.
Brian says good luck to fellow Canadian Mike McDonald, current chip leader at this super high roller tournament. Hashtag Canada.
You know, I like Mike McDonald so much that sometimes I almost forget he's Canadian.
Actions on McDonald. Seidel's raised under the gun to 175,000.
Mike makes the call. Move your heads up to the floor.
Ace, king, six with two spades. Second pair for McDonald. Not much for Seidel.
Mr. Seidel could take a stab on the flop, or he has no equity and not a lot of two barrels, but just given how often Mike's just going to have middling cards that completely whiff, he gets a cheap price.
There is a C-bet of 200,000.
He could, if he checks back, he also is able to rep like a king when he goes for a delayed C-bet.
Mike makes the call. We go to the turn.
Mike calls. Turn card is another ace. Ace of clubs.
Does this really change anything, Steve, this ace hitting?
There's so many draws out there. It doesn't it'd be pretty tough to two barrel for Seidel. You could think Mike's calling with King X and all the Broadway gutters and think that he would, if he thinks he'll fold a king on the turn, he'll probably have a profitable two barrel. But at this point when he's doing it with Queen 9, just a ton of air. But it's a pretty tough spot.
Seidel's just stuck in 35% of his remaining chips.
Mike could call knowing that he could have an ace or a king, so then he can just comfortably check fold the king on the river. I wouldn't be surprised to see him just fold here just because it's such an unlikely two barrel spot. But I think Mike's going to call.
Is he going to very often call here and fold river?
If he calls here with the king, he'll always hold to the river. But he won't he'll also call with an ace and then fold and then call with the ace on the river.
Donald folds and Seidel chips up. Now playing 1.8 million. So I want to welcome in new viewers to EPT Live. If you've just joined us, you're watching the final table of the 50k Super High Roller. The action currently four-handed. The final four are all in the money. James Hartigan, Joe Stapleton and Steve Silverman calling the action here in Barcelona, where the main event has also started. It's day 1A today, day 1B tomorrow, and our live coverage of the main event starts tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you stay with us on EPT Live, on PokerStars.tv for the next 6 days. And do get in touch, tag your tweets EPT Live, email using the address you see stored on your screen, nuts@PokerStars.tv, and remember that you can download that app for iOS and Android devices. You can watch this on your iPad, your iPhone, your Samsung tablets. My personal favourite combo, stream on the iPad, AirPlay it to Apple TV to a nice big screen.
How does one go about getting one of those nice big screens?
Money. Under the gun raise from Lunkin with Jack 10. O'Dwyer on the button with Ace 9.
So I think Dwyer's flatting Lunkin here. I think Lunkin's been playing a little bit passive post-flop. He let Mike get to showdown with King High yesterday, so maybe he's just banking on not facing too many aggressive barrels.
Ace 8-8 flop. It's all O'Dwyer.
Steve probably wouldn't mind facing an aggressive barrel at this point.
Nice to see, by the way, that we've updated Steve O'Dwyer's photograph. Taking in the new look for Season 10 with the slick-back ponytail look.
Not surprised by the check behind on the flop. It's kind of a hand where, you know, the equities aren't really changing that much. You're either like way ahead, way behind, and it's kind of like a two-street hand. You're not, even if you bet the flop, you're not expecting to get 3 streets out of, like, I don't know, pocket 10s. So you might as well check behind the flop and go for the second 2 streets.
That's awesome analysis right there. That's really good stuff, guys. Hope you're paying attention. Lunkin now betting his open-ender. Probably expects his pairs to be live most of the time, too.
I think Steve's probably just going to call to induce a river bluff. If Italy had like broadways that were giving up, or just any hand that was giving up, and now took a stab on the turn. You know, he happened to turn a lot of equity.
Pretty much a brick there in the river.
Yeah, I mean, Steve's hand looks a lot like an ace. Potentially king queen or king jack, but
Steve attempting value.
650,000 total.
650,000 into a pot of 920,000.
it's on the larger side. I think he's just hoping he had an ace. Check the
Lunkin
flop with
folds.
it.
So he folds. Steve will win this pot.
By the way, we have interviewed our 5th place finisher, David Benefield, and you'll be able to see that interview during the next break, which is just 7 minutes away. Time ticking down on this level, and when they come back from the break, the blinds will be up to 50 and 100,000. The ante will stay at 10,000. Question is, will we come back from that break? Still 4-handed? 3-handed? Heads up?
Will we come back from that break? I don't know.
Wow.
Depends how long the lines are for the bathroom.
There is the trophy that will be presented to the winner, along with the first place prize money of 771,000 euros. Confirmation of the prizes. Scrolling along the LED wall.
Card. Mike's bottom card, is there like was it just like a sweat stain or something? There's no mark on it, no? It looked like it had something on it.
Steve O'Dwyer
That's
accusing
what he
Mike
knows.
McDonald of sweating on his cards.
Nervous?
All right.
O'Dwyer is raised. Lunkin with 9s in the big blind.
Action has been 4 rounds of Vitaly on the big blind.
Is this a 3-bet ever, Steve?
I mean, it's kind of tough because under normal circumstances, you might 3-bet and, look to get it in with these stacks. It's certainly fine, but Vitaly's been playing, pretty tight. So it's kind of hard to then try to go for a thin induce with 9s. That being said, 9s is still a very strong hand, four-handed, versus the cutoff open for
Vitaly will re-raise
35 bigs.
500,000 total. Steve folds, and Vitaly will
But like I would be, if Steve did have like pocket 7s, I'd be pretty surprised to see him just shove there, given how tight Vitaly's been
So
playing.
you think based on Vitaly's image that he actually loses value by 3-betting 9s?
It's possible. I'm not entirely sure.
Right, it's possible.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what Steve thinks of him in terms of 3-betting, but it's hard when you're not playing aggressive to then get action on your marginal hands and feel good about it. Like if that was Ole, he would be 3-betting and just fist pump snap calling.
Alan says Steve O'Dwyer is rocking the Steven Seagal look.
Yes, that's what I've been searching for all week. That's the one.
Adam says, Steve, will you be grinding the online Sundays after the final table? Best of luck if so. Kind of tough here in Spain, right? Can't get on the stars. Mike McDonald with King Queen.
So the action is on with Mike. He's going to raise to 160,000 total. Eric folds the button. Vitaly gives up the small
Would you say
blind.
Steve O'Dwyer is more out for justice or hard to kill?
I would say he's out for justice.
Out for justice.
Heads up to the flop.
He could also be on deadly ground since he's dominated. Flop's pretty good, though.
4 spades, 2 of diamonds, 3 of clubs. Steve is first to speak.
O'Dwyer up and down.
Checks.
Checks to the razor.
Mike checks. Goes to the tag.
It's pretty.
Oh, there we go.
Deals the spades.
Have a straight, Steve.
I think Mike's just going to show this down. It's hard to rep an ace after you check behind the flop. When you have any aces like 2 overs in a gutter. And he has showdown value with his king high.
And Mike checks.
He has check behind.
Then there's the Jack of Hearts.
Jack on the river.
Steve checks.
Steve checks a third time.
He's really trying to get, that double delayed c-bet from Mike if he was checking behind a hand like 8-9.
Out of 5.
Mike doesn't bite. Another pot gets shipped to the Glimmer Man.
I really regret reading out that tweet.
No bluff?
They don't burn through all the Seagal puns. You want to save some for the TV show, right?
No, I don't save them. I reuse, buddy.
What a quick question from Jesper on Twitter. He says, will there be an EPT in Copenhagen at some time? Let's just have a quick look at how the 4 remaining player stacks have changed from the start of the day. Well, everyone's seen an increase. Seidel, the smallest increase. O'Dwyer, the biggest. Regarding EPT Copenhagen, well, it wasn't part of EPT 9. It's not on the schedule for Season 10. Already, I know there are provisional plans for the schedule of Season 11. They won't be announced, though, until Monaco at the end of EPT 10. It's a case of never say never, but I'm not going to lie to you, Jesper, I was a big fan of Copenhagen, but getting people to go to Copenhagen in winter and play against Nordic poker players wasn't appealing.
It's like those NFL teams that have the advantage playing in cold weather.
Oh, Mike Rossi joins in. He says, Stapes, Mike McDonald ran into a dangerous man there. Steven Seagal puns, FTW.
Mike could have called with 5-9 off there, I think, but it's fine to fold.
Tell us why. Tell us why 5-9 off can be a call there.
I think just versatility. He's just not gonna. He's gonna let you get to showdown easier. I mean, you can flop gutters, you can flop pairs. Seems just good enough to call, but fold 4-9 off.
Looks like this will be the last hand of the level. A reminder that there will be a short break after this hand. When the players come back, the blinds will be up to 5,100.
I think four-handed the antes are smaller, and he made it a little bit bigger than a min-raise too, so that's another consideration that would lean towards a fold.
Of course, you can see our ticker reminding you that David Benefield. If you want to hear from David, want to see his interview, we'll play that out during the break.
Do not read any more of these Steven Seagal puns. They're mine. You're taking food out of my kids' mouths.
Dwyer with Jack 8 suited on the button. He raises. What's it going to be, Eric?
Eric Seidel's name is almost an onomatopoeia. Because he just kind of looks like a sigh.
What's behind?
It's interesting he chose a size not all in. I mean, it's like he's basically saying that he could potentially be folding here, otherwise he would just shove. I think he has just enough where he could 3-bet fold. As it is, he's calling.
Ace 10.
The thing is you're allowing Steve O'Dwyer to now peel if he had like 9-10 of hearts. He might even peel this.
Do you do this with the intent of making it look like you could potentially fold and inducing?
Yeah, I mean, like if you were never folding, then you should just always just shove, because you're just allowing your opponent to play perfectly, like knowing that you're committing yourself. But if you want to, you can just call 325 more and try to flop something. Hands like Ace-10, I think, make more sense just to not induce with and just cram. Steve will still call, like, Ace-8. And,
O'Dwyer folds, Seidel wins the last hand of the level.
Because I haven't eaten yet today.
allowing someone to outflop you is just a disaster.
Can we make it a full 20? Like, can we start
Good point.
talk over at 20? I haven't eaten yet.
Seems so obvious when you say it.
Also,
So a 20-minute break for the players, a 20-minute break for you at home, during which you'll be able to see David Benefield's reaction to his elimination from this tournament. These are the last four players. Seidel the short stack, Lunkin the chip leader. No one will have 50 big blinds when we come back from the break.
thank you.
And a reminder of what they are playing for in this super high roller. Now that everyone is in the money, with Timothy Adams busting on the bubble, 771k for the winner. Steve Silverman will be back from the break. Mark Convey and Matt Broughton will be here as well. Back in 20 minutes on EPT Live.